Dear Diary. Did I tell you that I saw a bird? It had brown feathers and a red chest. It gleamed against the sky. Then I heard the gunshot. Seeing the way they treated this innocent, beautiful thing, they snapped.
There are some indie games that are these quiet and contemplative experiences. However, I Am Your Beast is not one of those games. Instead, it throws you headfirst into a whirlwind of frenetic combat where revenge and speed are the only constants. Developed by Strange Scaffold, this game combines a visceral and fast-paced first-person shooter with a deeply personal story of revenge.
You need to stand down.
You first.
It's not just another indie FPS, I promise. It's a speedrunner's dream wrapped in a comic book inspired visual feast. Plus, this game is just really fun, like really fun, and it's also very rewarding to play and get good at. In this video, I'm going to break down everything that makes I Am Your Beast a standout game that you have to try out. We'll dig deep into the gameplay mechanics, the narrative, the visual, and the audio design, and most importantly, why it is so addictively fun to replay over and over and over and over.
2,000 years later.
And over again. There will be some spoilers for bits of the levels and some of the narrative elements. Now for the narrative elements, that's specifically going to be in the narrative chapter of this video. So if you want to jump to certain portions that interest you the most, I'll make sure to include video chapters for you to use. So buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride.
As an empowered agent of the United States government and the international intelligence community, I declare you unfit for duty. I'm done trying to bring you in, Harding. How do you plead?
I guess I plead guilty.
At the heart of I Am Your Beast lies its frenetic combat, a perfect marriage of fast-paced improvisation and tactical depth. This kind of game, combat, and protagonist is something I'd like to call the he's and the walls genre. You are by far the most dangerous thing in this forest, maybe except for Frostbite, and the enemies definitely know that, and you'll understand why soon enough. Now, right from the start, the game throws the player into a whirlwind of action where fluid movement and on-the-fly decision-making takes center stage. Combat is not at all about following a rigid formula or relying on precision alone. It is about adapting to chaos, leveraging the environment, and making rapid decisions with the tools that are given to you. Most of the levels have multiple options on how to actually tackle them. I found myself replaying each of the levels several times, one to get the S rating, and two just to try the different paths to see if I could beat the level more efficiently, which honestly is something I never do in games. Weapons like pistols, traps, combat knives, shotguns, assault rifles, tree bark, and environmental hazards provide an ever-changing arsenal that encourages the players to switch weapons constantly. You know how satisfying it is to get a headshot by throwing tree bark at a guy while saying, "You're about to get hit with some tremendous damage." Oh, was that bad? Hold on, wait, let me try this again, hold on. You'll be feeling a little rough after this bark attack. I'll make sure this bark leaves a mark. I'm about to log this win by tossing some bark at you. Oh, okay, I give up, never mind.
Let me know when you need to go to the bathroom. I'll take watch. I'm fine. What do you mean you're fine? I haven't seen you piss all day, dude. The fuck? Do you watch me piss? No! Stop! He's doing pop!
Each gun's ammo is limited and cannot simply be reloaded, so you'll be forced to use more than just the first pistol you pick up. It's very similar to games like Super Hot and Severed Steel in that way. This makes you play with the game's entire sandbox. Now, finding these tools of destruction is simple. Either take the gun from an enemy with a kick, or grab it from the environment if it's there. This fluidity of switching weapons keeps every encounter fresh and unpredictable. This level design complements this controlled chaos. It offers a series of increasingly complex arenas where tactical improvisation is key. Each of the 20+ levels is essentially a sandbox for creativity where players are encouraged to experiment with different strategies. There's really no like one layout, which is a good thing. Now you can lay traps, manipulate enemy behavior, and use the natural environment to outsmart the AI. Using the environment is also super important and the key to moving fast. The trees and rocks are going to have handholds that are jutting out. They've got snow on them that you can climb up. You can run along the tree branches like the predator, and it'll make you feel like you are the danger.
I am the danger.
Not the enemy, because in this game, you actually are. These options allow the player to craft each level to their liking and find out how to best conquer it. It's guerrilla warfare at its finest, rewarding players who think creatively and react swiftly. The movement in this game, it is not just a way to get from point A to point B, it is the lifeblood of the entire experience. You don't just move, you flow, sprint, dodge, and leap through the chaos like you're starring in an action movie directed by someone who just drank 3 energy drinks. This game demands that you stay in constant motion because if you stop, you die. Simple as that. There's a real sense of weightlessness to the movement, but not in like a floaty, uncontrollable way. It feels sharp, like every second counts and every step you take could be your last. You're never far from an enemy or a trap, and this game makes sure you know it by pushing you to think on your feet. It's a delicate balance, sprinting headlong into danger and pulling off those perfect tactical maneuvers that make you feel like a genius, even if it was just a lucky guess. The real kicker, though, is how the movement integrates with everything else. It is not just about running, it is about how you use the environment. Need to lure enemies into a trap, sprint past them and make them chase you, want to get a better angle for an ambush, hop on that tree branch and surprise them from behind. The level design is practically begging you to use every nook and cranny to your advantage, encouraging parkour-like tactics that keep this action fresh. But here's where things truly get wild. I Am Your Beast isn't just about moving fast, it is about moving smart. The game rewards players who know when to sprint, when to crouch, and when to dive out of the way like their life depends on it, because spoiler, it does. Movement becomes this high-stakes dance where every step, jump, and dodge feels like a part of a larger plan, until it goes wrong, of course, and then you're back to running for your life. In short, the movement in I Am Your Beast is this chaotic ballet you never knew you needed. It is fast, frantic, and absolutely essential to surviving and thriving in this game's unpredictable world. The enemies you fight in this game are fairly basic. Generally speaking, they're all soldiers, poor lads. They start off with no armor or helmets, so headshots are probably the easiest way to get rid of them. Now later the game does introduce head protection and armor protection, so you pretty much have to blow them up or shoot them a lot. There's really only one boss fight in this game, and that seems to only really be the helicopter to me.
The COI is sending in an attack chopper. They want to start doing proactive patrols, run you to ground. The chopper's armed to the teeth and can't be damaged by conventional weaponry.
I do really wish we got to kill the general. That guy's the worst. But beyond the immediate thrill of combat and movement, I Am Your Beast also taps into something much deeper for those who crave perfection, and that is speedrunning. This game's level grading system, particularly the coveted S rating, invites players to engage in a constant cycle of improvement. Achieving an S rating requires more than just surviving, it actually demands mastery. The breakneck pace of the gameplay, combined with the need to make every move count, turns each level into a puzzle where efficiency is the ultimate goal.
I found Jones with his head missing!
There are also usually 1 to 2 additional challenges per level that you can complete, which give you extra points towards that rating. Now this is where the game truly shines for speedrunners. The appeal lies in replaying levels over and over again, shaving seconds off your time as you experiment with different paths and strategies and weapon combinations. The levels are designed to encourage this experimentation, offering multiple routes and tactical options. Maybe in one run you set a series of traps, carefully lure enemies into them, while the next you go in just guns blazing, relying on your reflexes and mastery of the movement to clear an area as quickly as possible. Every attempt that you take brings you closer to that perfect run, and the thrill of finally nailing it, oh, it just feels so good. Clearing a level with speed, precision, and grace, it is indescribable. What makes this all the more enjoyable is how intuitive the game feels in the hands of the player. The fluidity of movement, the ease of switching between weapons, and the constant sense of motion combine to create a seamless experience. You're no longer reacting to the chaos, you are mastering it, turning each level into a speedrunner's playground. The more you play, the more you'll start to see the underlying patterns in the game, which allows you to navigate levels with an efficiency that is immensely satisfying. In a way, I Am Your Beast isn't just a game, it's a training ground for speedrunners where players can immerse themselves in the pursuit of perfection. The grading system and the addictive gameplay loop of trying to reach that rating elevate the game beyond a traditional first-person shooter. It becomes a relentless challenge, one that keeps you coming back for more. Now, while I Am Your Beast is undoubtedly a game about high-octane combat, its narrative is equally compelling, weaving a tale of personal revenge that is interspersed throughout the game's missions. You play as Alphonse Harding, a retired secret agent seeking revenge against the COI, or the Covert Operations Initiative, that is a shadowy organization that betrayed and manipulated him. You learn a lot about Harding just from the tutorial where he goes full postal on a couple guys because one of them shot the bird that he liked. I say the death sentence for those bird murderers. PETA would be proud. What makes the story so effective is how it is delivered. Now, instead of relying on lengthy exposition or forced dialogue, I Am Your Beast just uses its cutscenes and mission structures to gradually reveal the depth of Alphonse's quest. Now, the further in the game you go, the more intense the dialogue becomes. Each mission usually begins and ends with a sort of short and impactful cutscene that delves into his motivations and his history with the COI. These scenes use a unique technique called kinetic typography to convey emotion and narrative beats, furthering the comic book aesthetic of the game. It is a bold and unconventional way to tell the story, and it works brilliantly here. By allowing the cutscenes to unfold between the missions, the game maintains this constant flow, ensuring that players remain engaged with the action without being bogged down by this lengthy exposition. Most of the cutscenes that are presented are these simple sort of phone conversations between our protagonist and these different individuals in the story. The most frequent is Birkins, aka the General, who you butt heads with constantly.
If you don't die tomorrow, I'm not sure the devil himself could kill you.
He's trying to get you to do one last job, which Harding quickly replies that he's heard that one before. Obviously, Harding refuses and goes, again, full postal on the agents that the General sends to the forest to track down Harding. Later in the game, you'll run into another important character who introduces himself as Byron. Byron is this unfortunate soul who's thrust into this forest to be slayed by Harding, and apparently he wears a pink mitten from his daughter.
You see a COI agent wearing a pink mitten. You let me go. It's my daughter's mitten. She made it for me.
Byron strikes this deal with Harding as Byron agrees to relay information about COI movements and tactics to Harding in exchange for Harding to spare his life. Now, quick pause. Can we please talk about how good the voice acting in this game is? For a game that only does story this way, you have to have good voice actors. Everyone involved did such a ridiculously good job at selling the story. You genuinely sort of get connected with each of the characters just because of how good the lines are delivered. This method of storytelling also draws players into Alphonse's world, allowing the narrative to be experienced organically. You're not just told about his anger and his desire for revenge. You can feel it in literally every enemy encounter, every battle, every trap you set, every cutscene. The game's cutscenes provide just enough context to keep the story moving forward, but they never overshadow the gameplay itself. The balance between action and narrative is masterfully handled, giving players the space to explore the gameplay while still feeling deeply connected to the story. Alphonse's personal vendetta also adds emotional weight to the gameplay. Every kill, every victory, and every ambush feels very personal because the game ties them directly to the protagonist's mission. You're not just clearing levels for the sake of progression, you're enacting his revenge step by step. The COI becomes more than just a faceless enemy. Each level is another piece of Alphonse's dark history and another chance to chip away at the organization that wronged him. Now, let's go back to Byron for a second. It's really hard to explain, but this game did a great job of making me care about Byron and his friendship with Alphonse. Later in the game, you learn that Byron is the guy driving the helicopter.
Alphonse, guess what? We're gonna meet soon.
Is that so?
Yeah, Birkin's putting everything he's got into the chopper, loading up every hard point that it has.
What does that have to do with us meeting?
Because there's no way you're getting out of this without facing down that chopper.
Probably part of the reason why the helicopter hasn't killed you yet, because Byron's probably trying to throw. But in Mission 24, you all finally meet and Harding shoots down the chopper with a touching scene showing him sparing Byron. It was so refreshing because up to that point, Harding has just killed whoever was there, and that's it. So to see a more empathetic side to him was a great change of pace. Plus the relationship, banter, and calling each other babe just kind of sold it for me. It's probably the best part of the story. It's a great juxtaposition for Harding's hate for the General, and I guess Byron's hate for the General as well. This game took me about 3 hours to finish, and that was with me replaying missions, so I got the S rating on almost all of them. Now, one thing I noticed after the game was finished was that the main menu when you first start the game is peaceful with a bird flying through the landscape. However, the further and further you get into it and the more you kill, you'll start seeing corpses and blood spattered around the landscape. Just another nice touch to show how dark the game gets at its climax. Visually, I Am Your Beast sets itself apart from the crowded FPS genre with this striking comic book aesthetic. The bold lines, the exaggerated color palettes, and high contrast environments make it as though you're playing through the pages of a graphic novel. This visual style is more than just a gimmick, it is a core part of the game's identity, which reinforces the sense that you're living out his revenge in this heightened, almost mythological way. The game's environments are also equally impressive. Set in the rugged wilderness of North America, the levels feel expansive and organic, yet each one is meticulously crafted to offer strategic advantages for players who pay attention to their surroundings. Dense forests, abandoned compounds, and isolated hideouts make up the bulk of the game's locations, and each one feels very distinct. The visual design of these environments plays into the game's theme of guerrilla warfare, giving players the tools they need to outsmart the enemy while reinforcing that sense of isolation and survival. A standout aspect of the visual design is the use of color. The comic book style allows for a more exaggerated use of bright and contrasting hues, which ensures that important visual elements like traps, enemies, hazards, they all stand out. This is especially important in a game that requires players to think and act quickly. The visual clarity this game offers allows for smoother, faster gameplay without sacrificing that aesthetic that defines the game's tone. The audio design of this game is equally meticulous, contributing to the immersion in ways that are both subtle and powerful. The game's soundtrack is relentless, pushing players forward with these industrial beats and pulsing synths that perfectly match the frenetic pace of combat. The music serves as this driving force that builds tension in moments of quiet and exploding into chaotic energy during gunfights. It's an auditory experience that enhances the overall sense of urgency and intensity, making each encounter feel even more high stakes than the first. Sound effects too are also carefully designed to fit the tone of the game. Every weapon has a distinct sound, from the crack of a rifle to the snap of a bear trap. The enemy grunts, the rustling of leaves, and the distant hum of danger all contribute to the game's immersive atmosphere. Whether you're creeping through the forest, waiting for the right moment to strike, or sprinting headlong into a firefight, the sound design amplifies every single action, which makes you feel deeply connected to the world. While I Am Your Beast delivers this fast-paced, exhilarating gameplay, it also delves into thematic territory, exploring ideas of isolation, survival, and revenge. Alphonse Harding's quest for vengeance is the driving force behind the game, but it's not just about revenge for revenge's sake. It's about survival in a hostile world. As players guide the character through the journey, they're constantly reminded that this violence they act isn't just a manifestation of anger, it's a necessary part of surviving in a world that has betrayed him. The wilderness setting sort of reinforces this theme of survival. Alphonse is a man alone, hunted by the organization that he once served, and every level is a battle not just for revenge but for life. The COI represents more than just this shadowy antagonist. They're a constant reminder of the world's hostility, a force that is always closing in on Alphonse, and by extension the player. The game doesn't provide an easy answer about whether Alphonse's mission is just, but it does encourage players to reflect on the toll of vengeance. Speed as a theme is interwoven to these ideas. Alphonse's survival depends on his ability to act quickly, to think on his feet, and to adapt to an ever-changing chaos around him. The speedrunning elements of this game further emphasize this, turning each level into a race not just against the enemies, but against time itself. In chasing that S rating, players are constantly reminded of the high stakes, the urgency of Alphonse's mission, and the need for perfection in the face of overwhelming odds. All that being said, all the movement, the narrative, the guns, the time trials, and the challenges, I Am Your Beast is just a really good game. Once you get to the end of the game, it gets infinitely better, starting with the game's namesake mission and finishing with the last level. All I've got to say is enjoy, because this game ends with a bang.
Motherfuckers wanna make a statement. Cigarette on forehead, face on pavement. Got a cell block in my basement. Exercising tyrants with the dawn that's breaking. Turn on lights cause the stage is set. Blood is warm and my face is wet.
I'm Your Beast is a standout title in the indie FPS genre, not just because of its fast-paced, improvisational combat, but because of how it marries that chaos with a deeply personal narrative and a striking visual style. It's a game that thrives on speed and strategy, inviting players to embrace the chaos and to master it. For fans of high-octane shooters, speedrunning challenges, or just games that throw you into the deep end and expect you to swim, I Am Your Beast is a must-play. It's chaotic, it's challenging, and it is endlessly rewarding. Strange Scaffold has created something special here. A game that knows how to balance this chaos with strategy, this narrative with action, and the speed with precision. I don't know much about the developer of this game, but I wanted to just say thank you. Thank you, Strange Scaffold, for surprising me with a fun and intricately put together FPS experience that I can come back to and enjoy again. Whether you're here for the revenge story, the breakneck combat, or the thrill of chasing that elusive S rating, I'm Your Beast delivers on all fronts. It's a testament to the creativity and innovation that defines the indie game scene, proving that once again, Sometimes the most memorable experiences come from the least expected places. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you all enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these sort of analytical breakdowns on a bunch of different fun games that I really like, mostly in the FPS movement genre. Please leave a like and a comment for the algorithm, and I will see you guys next time.